Coming up, several MLB teams homer their way to wins on Sunday. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us. Then we recap all the action from yesterday across Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The Guardians kept falling behind in the AL Central. They're doing it right now. Cleveland blew a chance at a win on Sunday by giving up 3 runs in the 9th to the White Sox. Locked On Guardians goes over that 9th inning loss.
Back to the lovely podcasting basement to talk about a not-so-lovely game. First off, don't come in talking trash about Emmanuel Clase losing this game. It had nothing to do with Clase. He got the ball on the ground. He missed bats. Brad Rocchio hadn't played a lot of third. About 20 games in the minors. 2 bad throws. Cole Calhoun hadn't played first in a decade. That's the story of this game. Tito likes to play guys out of position. Mike Freeman, Michael Martinez, Ernie Clement. Remember their times in outfield? It's kind of mind-boggling to me that we know he's going to do this, yet guys don't get a lot of versatility training in the minors. A little bit here, a little bit here, but not enough. Know that once they're up, that you're going to be used all over, and maybe there should be more time spent getting guys used to playing positions, because they're going to break in wherever they can break in. An unfortunate game. You know, they should have won it. But another loss to the Chicago White Sox, another loss. Brutal stretch coming up. Cleveland Guardians follow the White Sox because of defensive miscues in the 9th.
5 different Orioles pitchers combined to shut out the Mets on Sunday afternoon, and our Locked On Orioles host recaps the team effort on the mound.
Your first place Orioles have swept another bad team, and this time it was the New York Mets, finishing it off with a 2-0 win on Sunday. Hi everyone, Connor Newcomb here, host of Locked On Orioles. The O's do it again. 3 wins over the weekend. They are the first American League team to 70 wins. They have extended their lead to 3 games in the AL East. And the Sunday game was fun because although it was a shutout, they didn't get an amazing start from Kyle Bradish. He only went 4 2/3. He walked 5 batters. The bullpen had to pick him up. Cionel Perez got out of a bases-loaded jam, got a huge 4 outs. Cole Irvin pitched in a 1-run game in the 7th. Thought he was the long mop-up man. Apparently he's high leverage now, 1-2-3 7th. Shintaro Fujinami, 1 pitch away from an immaculate inning. Every fastball he threw was over 100, including one at 103 for a strikeout. And then Felix did Felix things. The Orioles get 2 runs on kind of weird ways, but it doesn't matter. They win the game, they sweep the series, and they're still in first place. And I'll recap it all coming up on Monday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
The Blue Jays blew out the Red Sox yesterday with 13 runs scored in Boston. Locked On hosts with both teams have more on the battle of AL East rivals.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. How sweep it is. The Toronto Blue Jays went into this weekend series at Fenway Park at 0-7 versus the Boston Red Sox so far in 2023, but put together likely their best series of the season and capped that with a 13-1 beatdown Sunday afternoon, which likely delivered the knockout blow to the Red Sox 2023 season. So all kinds of great stuff this weekend for Blue Jay fans. Now, this weekend saw the debut of Davis Schneider, and it was as epic a Blue Jays debut as we've ever seen, and he was at it again in Sunday's afternoon win as well. But I want to shout out Matt Chapman and Kevin Biggio. Their 2-out hits with runners in scoring position in the 4th inning got the Blue Jays going this afternoon. Great job. Also, outside of Alek Manoah at home, there's not been a worse pitching scenario for the 2023 Blue Jays than Chris Bassett on the road, in particular in a road day game. Well, Bassett today, the Hound was on the mound. He was fantastic. Tune in tomorrow's Locked On Blue Jays podcast episode as we are off to Cleveland.
Hi, it's Gabby from Locked On Red Sox. What an absolutely, completely disappointing series for the Red Sox this weekend, to say the least. Going into a series against the Blue Jays, who are only a couple games ahead of you for the wild card, heading into the weekend, in what is arguably the most important series of the season up to this point. And the stakes were high, and I really thought the Red Sox were starting to figure things out, and then they go and absolutely just fall flat on their faces and get swept against the Blue Jays. The Sunday game was absolutely brutal. I mean, I was there today and had to watch the meltdown. I mean, Chris Murphy really just struggled significantly. It was just a very, very frustrating series, and one that we need to try to forget about and just hope that they sweep the Royals.
Coming up, the Twins come back for a walk-off win. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Dave. We've all been at that point where we need a little extra cash. Dave can help you out. Dave is the banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit checks, no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance the money you will need with no interest, and then you can settle up later. So download Dave today at dave.com/MLB. That's dave.com/MLB. You could get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less, no credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/MLB. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. The Astros hit 4 home runs to outscore the Yankees. They took a win in New York yesterday. Our Locked On Yankees host looks at another loss.
Just what the Yankees didn't need. Carlos Rodon only lasts 2 2/3 innings and gets taken out with an injury. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and on Sunday, the Yankees lost to the Houston Astros 9-7. Carlos Rodon left the game with hamstring tightness. As I said, he lasted 2 2/3 innings, or 2/3, however you say it. 3 hits, 5 earned runs, gave up 2 home runs, walked 2, struck out 5. Not very fun. But the Yankees actually ended up tying the game and making it a game. And it seemed as if Houston was trying to let them win. And the Yankees were like, no, you guys have this one. That's fine. Yankees left 14 on base. So they split the series, which, hey, it could have been worse. Could have been a sweep. Could have been 1 out of 4. They won 2. We talk about the game. We talk about the state of the rotation, because after Luis Severino's performance on Friday and Rodon's on Sunday, the Yankees have a problem.
The Washington Nationals hit home runs on the first 2 pitches of the game. They set the tone for a win over the Reds yesterday. After Washington took the road victory, the Locked On hosts with both teams have more.
The Washington Nationals beat the Cincinnati Reds 6-3 down in Cincinnati to complete the series sweep. Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals here. Today's game started just how it ended, with the Nationals up in front. The Reds had someone making their major league debut, and the first 2 pitches that he threw in the majors, C.J. Abrams took one 400 feet to the right field, and then Lane Thomas goes 405 to dead center field. And those 2 guys carried this Nationals to a win in Cincinnati. And ultimately, though, Jake Lou as well. How about his performance today, adding 2 hits, 2 RBIs in today's contest as well. He also had a stolen bag, and he had a walk in today's game. I'm telling you, these red hot Nats, man, something is cooking, something is up. The Nationals are going to...
The Cincinnati Reds now have their 3rd 6-game losing streak of the season. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the Cincinnati Reds are swept at home by the Washington Nationals. Yeah, you know that team. They're the only other team in the NL East that's below the New York Mets. Really poor baseball. This team has so much talent on it. This is not the team that has just been random players thrown together that we've seen over the last 5-6 years, but they're playing some bad baseball right now. The Washington Nationals look like the better team in all 3 games. The Reds' pitching has been awful in the month of August. And quite frankly, there's positives, but
the Rays scored the first 5 runs of their game with the Tigers, and they took an easy win against Detroit in the process. Locked On Rays has more after the game.
After a very long game, the Rays are able to win this series against the Tigers. I'm Ulysses Zambrano, host of the Locked On Rays podcast. The Rays have a tremendously successful road trip. They win every series on this road trip. There were 9 games. They first beat the Houston Astros. They beat the New York Yankees at the Bronx, and then they finish it off by winning the series in Detroit. Today, it was a back and forth, well, not really back and forth, but a lot of scoring done today, 10-6, but the Rays were relentless today. Yandy Diaz was a triple shy of the cycle, and Wander Franco keeps hitting bombs. In this road trip, he went off. So for this and much more of your Tampa Bay Rays, please subscribe to Locked On Rays on every podcast platform, especially on YouTube. Rays up.
The Twins hit 2 home runs in the ninth, the second a walk-off from Matt Wallner to beat the Diamondbacks in Sunday's matchup. Our Locked On Twins look over the exciting finish in Minnesota.
It's an unfair game, baseball is, and if you are a Twins fan, which you probably are because you're watching this, you know that probably better than anybody this season. Twins, though, pick up the win 5-3, and they do so with 6 Twins hitters each getting a single hit. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks had 11 runners in scoring position all day. They go 2 for 11. Twins a measly 1 for 3, yet that was enough to win the game. Twins hit 2 home runs in the span of 9 pitches off Paul Sewald, Arizona's big trade deadline acquisition. And meanwhile, the Twins just kind of keep on keeping on, give up 6 stolen bases, and still win. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Today's stat you won't see or hear anywhere else is the Twins are 11-1 over their last 12 games against the Diamondbacks in Minneapolis. That includes an 8-1 mark at Target Field and a 3-0 mark at the Metrodome in 2008. This is Locked.
Coming up, the Rangers get a shutout for their 6th win in a row. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. The Brewers have both the Reds and the Cubs chasing them down in the NL Central, and they lost to the Pirates to bring both Cincy and Chicago within 2 games of Milwaukee. Locked On Brewers has more after the game.
Buddy Chuck Freeman from Locked On Brewers, wrapping it up here from AmFam Field, where the Brewers split their series with the Pirates. A 4-1 loss to the Pirates. This one just like so many other games. Light contact. Like 3 balls were hit out of the infield today, literally. Couldn't get much going. Scored a run in the 9th inning off the Pirates bullpen. Had the tying run at the plate with Monasterio. But I think the best thing that happened, obviously, was the start by Brandon Woodruff. Going 5 innings, gave 2 home run balls, was bringing the heat. He looked great. He looked like the old Brandon Woodruff to me out there. So that's the good thing. The bad thing, well, the offense continues to flounder. And, they just couldn't get anybody on base even today. They had 4 base hits today. We'll talk more about this coming up on Locked On Brewers a little bit later on tonight, as the Rockies will be in town next for a first of 3. And, the Brewers didn't do well against them last time out in Denver. We'll talk to you all later on tonight, everybody.
The Cubs won their 6th straight series by taking 2 of 3 from the Braves this weekend, and Locked On Cubs tells you more on a win for a red-hot Chicago team.
The Chicago Cubs are officially the hottest team in baseball, and it's not particularly close. After losing a convincing game on Friday against the best team in baseball, the Cubs come back and win back-to-back games to take the series from the dominant Atlanta Braves. Sunday's game featured Justin Steele with another victory. He had to grind through it, 13-3 on the year. He continues to be at the top of any Cy Young board. But this game for the Cubs was really about just enough offense, some clutch hitting, and just an unbelievable job by their bullpen. Michael Fulmer bailed Steele out of a huge jam. Jose Cuas came in, new addition from Kansas City, through a scoreless inning. Leiter Jr. threw a scoreless inning, and then Adbert Alzolay shut it down. Ian Happ had an RBI hit, big hit from Bellinger. Dansby had an RBI walk. The Cubs are clicking on all cylinders, and as of right now, they're right there in the division and in the wild card. It's going to be a fun couple of months.
The Rangers shut out the Marlins for their 6th straight win on Sunday afternoon, and Locked On Rangers tells you the keys to the recent success.
Rangers get the sweep, but they also get some bad news on the day. Rangers win 6-0 to complete the sweep of the Miami Marlins. I'm Bryce Patrick, host of the Locked On Rangers podcast. This was a massive win for the Rangers. Their 6th straight completes a perfect homestand, but they are losing their third baseman, Josh Young, for a little while. A broken thumb on a 109-mile-an-hour liner on a very quick double play turn, but Andrew Heaney was excellent in this one. The rest of the bullpen was excellent. Martin Perez, his first first bullpen appearance with the Rangers and the first since 2021. Rangers just completely shut out this Marlins team, and they head into Oakland on a 6-game winning streak. Big home runs from Nathaniel Lowe, from Marcus Semien, from Ezekiel Duran, and Adolis Garcia. They're going to need Ezekiel Duran to step up in this time while Josh Young is on the IL.
The Angels lost to the Mariners in extras on Sunday, and Locked On Angels goes over the loss as LA's playoff chances continue to diminish.
It's been 6 days and 6 games for the Halos since the trade deadline, the same deadline where they said that they were all in and they bought and they traded pieces. And they've lost 6 games in a row. What's going on, everybody? John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. Where do you want to begin, friends? Do you want to start with the fact that the Angels were swept by the Seattle Mariners this weekend, Thursday to Sunday? Do you want to start with the fact that Carlos Estevez blew his first save on Thursday in a game where the Angels had the lead, and then that was quickly gone? Do you want to talk about the fact that they came back multiple times on Friday against a really tough pitcher in Luis Castillo and still fell short Friday night? Do you want to talk about Saturday with the unluckiest ground rule double of all time and the Angels fell short again? Or do you want to talk about Sunday where Chase Silseth went 7 innings with 12 Ks and they offered him no run support? We're going to talk about it all on Locked On Angels, and we hope that you'll join Mike and I on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
That's it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you as always for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. As we head towards the playoff push, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.